Hey guys, welcome to today's Vehicle Visionary. Today I've borrowed this 2021 Chevrolet Suburban from my friends at Red River Chevrolet. And this is the LT trim level, not the top of the line, but it most certainly has some features that will make you think it's at the top of the line. And I really am kind of surprised for the price point where this model falls at what it has available. So what exactly can you expect if you want to pick up one of these Suburbans, no matter what trim level it may be? I'll list all of the different trim levels available and their base prices on the screen. But you can expect a lot of interior space and something that's unusual. Typically when you have a three-row SUV, the rear seats are going to have the least amount of leg room. Well, the middle row seats are adjustable, so you can move those forward and backwards and actually increase the space back there. But even when they're all the way in their furthest back position, there's still a decent amount of leg space. There's actually good room for adults in the rear seat area. And of course, both engines are powerful. I would obviously recommend, if you're looking for the most power, obviously, go with that 6.2 liter V8. But the 5.3 that's in this model, we'll talk about its numbers shortly, is not exactly hurting. As I mentioned earlier, under the hood is the smaller of the V8s available. And there are other engine options available for 2021, but here's what you'll find with the 5.3 liter. 355 horsepower, 383 pound-feet of torque. It's going to put power to the ground through a 10-speed automatic transmission with multiple driving modes. And by the way, if you're wondering, how do you change driving modes? A lot of the time, you're going to look to the center console or maybe in the center area of the dashboard. Well, on this Suburban, it's actually going to be to the left of the steering wheel in the same area where you would find the controls for the functionality of the LED headlights, daytime running lights, and tail lights. Just where that is, that's where Chevrolet decided to put it. Gas mileage. This is a big SUV. Obviously, the largest SUV that Chevrolet offers is this SUV. So what exactly can you get? According to Chevrolet, 15 miles per gallon city, 20 out on the highway, a combined total of 17 miles per gallon. And some people might say, wow, that's not the greatest gas mileage. But when you're driving down the road in something that, well, essentially has the aerodynamics of a brick or maybe a large building, that's not too terribly bad. And by the way, before I upset any Chevrolet executives with my joking around about the size of the Suburban, they have engineered some very solid ways to help with gas mileage here. And while it is a large vehicle, it's not exactly shaped like a brick. It's not completely square and flat as some of the generations of years and decades gone by. In fact, one of the ways that Chevrolet gets around the issue of drag with the aerodynamics of a vehicle this large, you have an active air curtain right here on the outside of both sides of the front bumper. So what that's going to do is, instead of the air having to pass over and around the vehicle, it actually passes through this air curtain right here. And that is one of the ways that you can achieve the estimated MPGs for this Suburban. When it comes to features and functionality, you will find a lot, whether it's the exterior or the interior that we'll take a look at shortly. You also will find a lot of great functionality here with the remote. What you would expect: lock, unlock, a panic button, all that kind of stuff, but you can open and or close the power rear liftgate. You also have the ability to use remote start, showing you the remote on the screen so you can see that. Just great possibilities there, helping out with getting the vehicle cooled down during the summer, warmed up during the winter before you even have to hop in to go wherever you're going. Of course, passive entry is going to be here, not only on the front door handles, but on the rear as well. If you aren't familiar with what that is, that just means that when you have the remote on your person, you can walk up and lock and or unlock the interior. And again, this not being the highest trim level, you're not going to find the power side steps that come out when you open the doors automatically, but you will find the step right here that's in a fixed position. It does make it a little bit easier. But I'll tell you what, that's one thing about the technology that is available now on these modern day Suburbans. It's something that, like I said earlier in the video, I talked about generations gone by that are, decades ago. I don't think anybody even thought about some of these features. And when it comes to the power tailgate, it's also hands-free. And you might notice that I'm basically using my foot to open the door, this rear lift gate, via the motion sensor that's right here on the right-hand side. When you're facing the vehicle, it'll be on your right. You would think, well, normally that would be in the middle, right? On a lot of vehicles, yes. But here's one of the coolest features that I have found here on this Suburban. For those who may not know where that is, Chevrolet projects a Chevrolet logo, that bow tie down here on the ground, so you can see that. If you see that on your Suburban and you're thinking, wow, why is that there? That just seems a little strange. That's what it boils down to. That's why it's there. A lot of interior space, not only for the driver and passengers, but also a ton of cargo space. You can maximize that a couple of different ways by lowering these rear seats and the middle row seats. Now, being this is the LT trim level, you're not going to find the functionality back here in the rear to do that automatically by just pushing a button, basically. It is a little far up, I think. And something that's interesting, just my thought process on this, it's not that hard to reach in and release the latch that allows those rear seats to fold down, but when it comes to pulling them back up, you can do it from the passenger side doors here in the rear. But it would maybe be an interesting little trick to have a multitasker of some sort, something you could just reach up there, kind of a hook or something like that, and just pull them back up. I don't think that's available here. I didn't see anything like that. You could actually use the tire iron for that. Probably would be a little bit more of a problem than it's worth. More trouble than it's worth, I should say. Speaking of that, here's a quick look at the underside of the vehicle. You can see where the spare tire is located, all that good stuff. And there is quite a bit of storage located here under the floor in the rear area. And like I said, that's where you're going to find the tools to change a tire if you ever need to, but just a lot of great functionality here. Okay, and to answer a question that I get so often on these 3-row SUV videos that I make, how do you get to those 3rd row seats? Well, there's a couple of different ways here. Obviously for the kids, there's a pass-through right here. You could just climb up and go right back there. But then you have a couple of levers here on the seats on both driver and passenger side here. The one that says ×2 on it, well, pull it up once, pull it up twice, comes right out of the way. That's also what this is for right here, for people who are sitting in the back. If somebody forgets to let them out and they don't want to take the pass-through, well, there you go. Quite easy to do. So let's get that back in place. And to move the seat back, that's what that front lever is for. Move that out of the way. But that's not the best thing that's back here. You've got the rear seat media package. And that's what these 2 screens are on the headrests of the front seats. Something I didn't really expect to see here. So you're probably wondering, man, this thing's got to be really expensive, right, Tom? $64,000 and some change, basically less than $65,000 in this day and age. From what I've seen with a lot of other vehicles, that's not bad for what you have here. I mean, panoramic sunroof, you've got the rear seat media package with navigation. I'll show you how all that works on the screen real quick. It's really pretty cool because you can project what's on the front screen back here and just all kinds of different features and functionality. You know, it's a great entertainment system for the kids, and the seats are ultra comfortable, not only here in the center row area, but the rear as well. Lots of leg room no matter where you sit. Tri-zone climate control here, so you've got dual in the front, single zone here that can be controlled. Everything right here on the rear of the center console. And as you can see, there's another one of those power outlets I mentioned earlier. All the USB connections here, the controls for the air conditioning, the fan speed, the temperature, all that good stuff. And of course, like I said, there's your panoramic sunroof. Rear seat passengers can definitely take advantage of that. And I know before the 21 model of these Suburbans came out, that's what a lot of you were seeking. Well, now you know that it's here. But that's not all there is. It sounds like an infomercial, doesn't it? But wait, there's more. Let's hop into the front seat and see exactly what that is. So when you hop into the front seat, you're greeted with a lot of great technology. And if you're familiar with the Silverado that debuted in 2019, well, you're going to notice a lot of that carried over here to this version of the Suburban. Not a bad thing, but just in case you're wondering, well, is it the same? Well, pretty much it is. Now, there's one thing here that I know I've received a lot of comments on of people saying they're not quite so crazy about it, and it's the fact that there's not a column shifter here anymore. You have the push button shifter here basically on the left hand side of the infotainment screen. Tell me what you think about that. It doesn't necessarily take a ton of getting used to, and it's like anything else. Once you're used to it, not necessarily that big of a deal. Got all your typical features and functionality here, of course, the steering wheel mounted controls. You even got a blinker on the left-hand side, that lever on the left-hand side that tends to have cobwebs on it for a lot of drivers here in Northwest Louisiana, because they don't realize when you're turning left or changing lanes to the left, you push it into the down position, or the same thing to the right, you push it into the up position. There you go. If you've ever wondered about that, well, you might have to kind of clean and disinfect that for a lot of you Shreveport-Bossier drivers before you start using it, because it's probably covered with dust and cobwebs and things like that. In all seriousness, you gotta throw some humor into this stuff, all right? Of course, push button start, everything is here, super easy to use. Like I said, down here on the left-hand side to the left of the steering wheel, the controls for your headlights, some of the other functionality as far as the safety features go on this vehicle, and there are quite a few, and also how you go through your different driving modes. And what exactly do you have? Well, you've got normal, you've got sport, you've got snow and ice. You also have your tow and haul mode, which this model does have a towing package, which unfortunately I don't have a way to really demonstrate that today, but that is one of the features that it has. And the infotainment system here, very easy to use. You have wireless capabilities for your phone. You don't even need a USB cable to connect your phone here. It's all done through Bluetooth. Of course, you do have USB outlets throughout the vehicle, and others as well, 12 volt, a lot of great features and functionality there. And of course, up here are the controls for the sunroof, for the power shade right there. And also this little knob right here, just a little tip for you right here. That's right there in the center. You can change how far the rear power lift gate opens, if it's all the way or 3/4 of the way, or you can actually turn that off. So if you ever go back there and you notice that that function that you would use for hands-free isn't working, check right here and make sure that's not turned off. That's the easiest place to start, at least as far as that goes. And of course, everything else here pretty easy to figure out. You do have heated seats, don't have ventilated seats, at least not on this particular model, and your dual zone climate control, like I said. And I really like the fact that your multitasking lid here for your center console, very large, pretty comfortable too. That's good and soft right there as far as the material that the driver and passenger can put their arms on. But there is a lot of room in there, more connectivity options there as well. You have a light that's part of the lid here, so that if you open it when it's dark out, then it's easy to see down in there. A lot of functionality here, a lot of great features. The rear camera, of course, you got that backup camera, very clear, very easy to see with. But the main thing that, of course, I want to talk about is the driving experience. And there is one thing here that not all the Suburbans have. Oh, one thing, I'm looking at one more thing. I know when I first saw this, I wondered, what is that? Because you'll notice if you look around in one of these newer models, there's not a sunglass holder up here. That's because it's moved down here next to the infotainment screen, to the right of the infotainment screen. That is where your sunglass holder is located. Okay guys, I'm stepping on it a little bit here just to get on down the road. And you know, like I said, you want the more powerful of the two engines, the 6.2 liter is the direction to go. But that doesn't mean that this 5.3 liter is exactly weak. Gets this Suburban down the road with absolutely no problem whatsoever. But one of the things I wanted to talk about that you're not going to get on every single model, again, going back to that price that I mentioned earlier, a little under $65,000, you're going to get premium smooth ride suspension. And I'm going to tell you what, it doesn't ride like a truck, and it doesn't ride like Suburbans of years gone by. So that's one thing you might want to really consider if you're looking for a smoother ride. Although I've driven other Suburbans 2021 models that didn't have the premium smooth ride suspension that still rode extremely well. But overall, it's a big SUV. Okay, that's one thing you gotta take into account if you're gonna buy one of these. It's got all the great features and functionality as far as the safety features go to help keep you safe, and the camera and all that stuff, the rear view camera to help you to kind of see what's going on behind you and all that good stuff. but it's still a larger SUV, maybe a little bit more challenging to get around than what some people are used to, but you know, you adjust to it. It's not that big of a deal. But the thing I like, and talk about the size of the vehicle, what it boils down to is that even though it's as big as it is, large 3-row SUV, biggest Suburban that Chevrolet's obviously ever produced, it still has a very comfortable ride, and it still doesn't feel when you're driving down the road as if it's as big as it really is. So really enjoyable, leather wrapped steering wheel, everything's easy to get to. It's really pretty easy to see out of as well. And of course, with the towing package, you're going to have larger mirrors. Hey, look at that. That's, you know what that person just did right there? They were so impressed with this Suburban, they had to cut in front of me, not being safe because they were so excited just to take a close-up look at the front end, closer than what they might have had otherwise. Or if they had done it later, it might have been closer than they wanted it to be. But that's just typical of what you have here in Shreveport-Bossier. And I know a lot of you like to hear my sarcastic remarks about the bad drivers we have around here. Oh my goodness, I can do that in every video. So what's my ultimate verdict here? Well, ultimately what I have to say is that, number one, I'm impressed with the features that are available here for the price. It's a comfortable vehicle. It's very versatile. It's going to get the job done no matter what. I mean, if you want to tow with it, it's going to tow fine. You know, taking the boat and the family to the lake or whatever the case may be. I mean, obviously you got to be within the specifications of what it can do, but I don't think it would have any problems. Now, I wish I had a chance to hitch some kind of a trailer up with some weight on it to see how it would do, and here we go. Let's just take off. We're going to take off, and you can hear that V8 going to work. I mean, I'm not even halfway down. I'm almost to the halfway point, about 40% down on the gas pedal. And it didn't take any time at all to get up to the speed limit of 55 miles per hour on this road. So obviously, I have spent all of the time in this video talking, but now it's your turn. I'm curious to see your feedback down in the comments section in future editions of the Suburban. What would you like to see added and or changed? You never know who's reading these comments on these videos, and so it can't hurt to drop your recommendation. Gotta say a special thanks to my friends at Red River Chevrolet for loaning me this Suburban for the day, and all of you for being kind enough to give me the opportunity to give you a vision for your next vehicle. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out another one of the videos that is on the screen right now, and I will see you there.